Welcome to Eat, Sleep, Wine, Repeat, a podcast for all you wine lovers who, if you're like me, just cannot get enough of the good stuff. I'm Janina, your host, brand ambassador, wine educator, and sommelier. So stick with me as we dive deeper into this ever-evolving, wonderful world of wine. And wherever you are listening to this, cheers to you.
Hello, wine friends, and welcome back to another episode where today we are looking at something every wine lover uses, but not so many people truly understand, and that is the wine glass. Because the real question isn't just what wine you're drinking, it's how much the glass itself is shaping your experience. So today's episode, you're gonna learn why glass shape genuinely transforms aroma, texture, and flavour, and where the boundary sits between measurable science and years of refined sensory experience. You'll learn how structure and style of wine, not just the grape variety, actually dictate everything from glass selection to decanting, and why a one-size-fits-all Burgundy glass is more myth than method. Now, my guest does not need much of an introduction. Max Riedel, of the family behind Riedel wine glasses. He grew up inside a lineage of glassmaking dating back to 1756 and now represents one of the most influential names in how the world experiences wine. Equal parts heritage, design thinking, and showmanship. Max brings his personal view into how glass is not just a vessel, but a tool that changes the entire emotional and sensory experience of wine. You know that he is constantly traveling. He's tasting wines all over the world. So in this conversation, I tried to get under the surface a little to understand how he thinks and pull out some of those insights. As you'll hear, he doesn't give everything away, which actually makes it even more compelling. And finally, by the end of this episode, you'll have a real sense that wine glass shape isn't an abstract technical detail. It's something you actually have to experience to understand. This conversation is really about opening the door to that curiosity, encouraging you to try different glasses for yourself, notice the differences, and see how much they can shift your perspective of the same wine. So pour yourself something good, settle in, and enjoy the episode. Max, thank you so much for joining me. I cannot wait to kind of really get inside your head and let us know about wine glasses. So how about I go with something that probably I'd love you to demystify, something that you think is the most misunderstood thing about wine glasses.
Well, Janina, thank you for having me. I want to jump into your question right away. When we talk about wine and glass, the performance of a wine glass has little to do with the aesthetics, nor with the weight of the glasses. Because lately it's very fashionable to have very thin and very light glasses, which my grandfather started already in the 1960s, but then people were still washing most of their glasses by hand, and a lot of breakage occurred. But nowadays, even in restaurants, they can deal with thin and light glasses, and I hope that it's a trend that will stay. When it comes to aesthetics, Riedel glasses are only about the function. The original Riedel glass was developed during the Bauhaus, the period where form follows function. So we're lucky that our glasses are pretty glasses, but this is secondary to me.
Okay, so everybody, it's not about the lightweightness. That's actually interesting. I am always saying to people, the lightweight is the delicacy. So would you say actually, because it's about the functionality, what is the most important part? Is it that the lip, the way, the shape of the bowl? What is the most important thing?
Well, first of all, I think everybody needs to understand that Riedel glasses are not developed on computers nor on drawing boards. For us, it's all trial and error. The Riedel glass focuses on the DNA of the grape variety. And for us, it's all about the performance, which means that the glass needs to communicate the wine at its best so that you and I get the most out of the experience. So it's all about the size of the bowl and the rim diameter that transfer the message of the wine onto our palate. So a glass can have a stem or no stem. This has zero impact on how we taste. It's all about the bowl.
Yep. Okay. Now, let's get into the science of it just slightly. And I imagine we have no time to really go into it. But you said it's about the bowl. Yeah, try and do this in 1 minute. Something you've been doing for 200 years. The bowl compared to the diameter of the rim. How? What are you kind of looking for versus the grape?
Yeah.
I don't know how you can even sum that up slightly.
So the best is, first of all, to understand what the glass can do for you and your wine, which means everybody at home can use any kind of cup, coffee cup, tea cup, crystal glass, old school, new school, modern wine glass, and simply pour wine and smell and taste the difference. And you will notice right away that depending on the various dimensions of the cups you have used, the wine will smell and taste different. This is where it starts. At Riedel, it started differently. My grandfather, after the Second World War, had to start from scratch, even though we are the oldest glass producing company in the world. And he was a designer. So for him, design was at the beginning the focus. He won many design awards at world exhibitions. But he also started to develop, because of the beauty of his glasses, a passion for wine. And of course, no better person to be coached by than a winemaker. And they tasted with him through the aesthetics of his glasses and realized that each glass made a different impression on the wine and on our palate. And this is where it started. Nowadays, we obviously surround ourselves with professional tasters when we fine-tune a new glass collection.
So actually, it's been one of those things that's been developed over time with different palettes, and then kind of noting down, this slight shape does this. These aromas pop out because of that. Is that kind of how it's worked slowly?
It is a trial and error. I could never do it on my own because I have a certain focus on wine, a certain appreciation. Then, of course, most important are the true influencers in wine, which are the winemakers. They have the greatest knowledge about a particular fruit. What are their expectations? Then, of course, we need to call on the pros like the sommeliers. So it's always a group of people that I surround myself with to fine-tune. And when we look at the lifespan of a Riedel glass, I'm not talking about the durability, but how long can a shape support and contribute? Well, in particular in the last 10 years, winemaking has changed quite a bit. The expectations of us, the industry, have changed. Global warming had an impression. So, of course, glasses have to be further developed. So my grandfather started and initiated the concept. My father further developed, and I have to bring it into the modern world of wine. So it's a constant back and forth, evaluating, developing, researching. I'm just coming from Bordeaux. I've done many tastings at the primeur with a lot of wineries that gave me feedback. And at the end, they were actually quite happy with our current standard.
Interesting. Okay, so when you are traveling around to different wine regions and you're showcasing all your different glasses and you're getting the feedback from different winemakers, that in your head then is potentially, based on what they said, developing maybe a new glass specifically for them, that region, that grape variety, right?
Absolutely. So in Bordeaux, obviously, we tried red and white wine. A lot of people forget that some of the greatest white wines come from Bordeaux. Sauvignon and Semillon, mainly blends, but not only. So we have put the glasses to test for white and red Bordeaux, but also because a lot of wineries produce maybe a cognac or maybe port. And in particular on port, a lot of wineries mentioned to me, maybe we should revisit the glasses that we developed in the 1990s, because also port and the way how port is being produced has further developed. And this is a fun project I will put my head around for the next couple of months.
Well, see, now this is interesting, because when you say port, what port are we talking about? Because now even rosé port is becoming a little bit of a thing. Granted, most often it might be blended with some tonic or something. But I suppose, is that now part of your challenge? Are we talking white port, pink port? Are we talking ruby port? Are we talking tawny port? Because there's...
Very good question. Well, for them, the core business is still tawny port and vintage port. And that's where I have to start before I consider all the new products that are being produced in the region.
Interesting. Well, okay. Since I had a masterclass with you, which was several years ago, I've been so adamant that you had to be on the podcast because this was my most eye-opening moment when it comes to wine glasses. So we tasted, didn't we, from the Veloce set of Cabernet Sauvignon, Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and Sauvignon Blanc. And my gosh, taking those 4 grape varieties, we had 4 different wines, and you got us to move those different wines across into the correct glass compared to the incorrect glasses. And the differences were, for me, so striking. So talk to me about that, and everybody listening, how you run those masterclasses, what you're trying to showcase.
Yes. So, Janina, thank you for bringing this to the listeners' attention, because for every wine lover, this is a must experience. Because I don't know how many people were shocked.
Me.
And I speak to at least 5,000 or more people a year personally about the function of a proper Riedel wine glass. People are shocked because they don't recognize the wine anymore, even though they have it in front of them in different shaped Riedel glasses. I'm not even including a competitor's glass, which I would motivate people to do to just see how well the Riedel glass works. But it's not done by just opening a good bottle of wine and having friends to share it with. Because sometimes you have a good experience, job well done. Sometimes you have a bad experience and you blame everything and everybody, but never the shape of your wine glass. So I also like to compare this with sports. Let's consider the game of golf. You show up to a game with one golf club. Trying to win the game, you will lose from the beginning because you don't use the proper system. And this is different clubs for different occasions. And it's the same with wine. If you tell, for example, a person from Bordeaux that Pinot Noir is just the same as Bordeaux, and that's why you use the same glass, people will not take you for serious. And this is exactly where my talk begins. People must be aware about the impact of the proper shaped wine glass for particular fruit. From then on, you can grow your knowledge or build it around it. But if this is, it's such a momentum, it's such a differentiation. And if you don't even consider it, or you think it's bollocks, think again, or join me at one of my upcoming events.
There we go. Everybody, I will find out when the upcoming events are coming and I'll put them in the show notes. Okay. So one thing that you showed and I witnessed was understanding that one Burgundy style glass actually is not perfect for a white and red Burgundy. So you have Chardonnay glasses, which are a slightly different shape, like maybe more open.
Very different.
Than Pinot.
Very different. Yeah.
So explain to me why that is, and why are there so many other glasses that are just Burgundy glass, done, tick, exercise over?
Because those glasses are made by designers who don't appreciate wine as much as I do. Seriously, honestly, a big mistake.
Okay.
Because shame on those designers who do not appreciate wine at this level. Burgundy produces dominantly 2 grape varieties, Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. And you can research as much as you want. Those grape varieties, ladies and gentlemen, have nothing in common except climate and terroir. They like the same surrounding, but they're so different that the Champenois have realized that because of the differences, if we blend them, we create perfection. Boom. So we talk about a red fruit that comes with natural tannins versus Chardonnay that has none. This is where the differentiation starts. I call this my second crusade because first I need to teach the sommeliers that are some of the time ignorant to the fact that Burgundy is not Burgundy. We have red and white and they have nothing in common, and they do deserve their own messengers because the difference is so big that in every tasting I pointed out, in every tasting, 5,000 people agree, wow, I would have never believed it. And I cannot describe it in detail. People must taste the difference. Chardonnay must have its own glass. Pinot Noir deserves it as well. It makes such a difference.
I think I remember that when we tried the Chardonnay in the Pinot glass, actually it dimmed the fruit. And then when we moved it over to the Chardonnay glass, which actually tapered out slightly more, it seemed more vibrant in the fruit aromas, but also it was more textural. And I think that was also because of the way it entered the mouth. Would I be correct? That was what you were saying?
All of that is correct. But again, we can talk so much. People must experience it. Chardonnay in the world of wine is a very unique fruit, never to be underestimated. Most opulent. It's all about the creamy texture. It's about the viscosity. It's about the length. It is about the fact that it's a fruit-dominated fruit, lacking in acidity and minerality, and the Riedel glass simply supports. We're not changing the wine. We're just dressing it to better understand it. So different to Pinot Noir. And again, people must taste to believe.
Well, there you go. It is so true, and it is very, very difficult to explain. I have to. We have to go back. I mean, the glassmaking history in your family goes back to 1756. So, I mean, what was it like as a child when you weren't drinking wine, surrounded by adults whose lifestyle was creating wine glasses?
Well, today we are celebrating 270 years in business, which is a great achievement, in particular, in general, 11 generations. And the reason is you never want to be the last. Good. So we put all our efforts into it to not be caught last. When I grew up, besides my grandfather, very little was talked about the history. Only when I moved to America, where I lived for 15 years, I realized how important storytelling is. And the first thing when I moved back to Europe to take over the company was to hire historians, to research, to focus on the facts. And I built a museum around this research, and it's an overwhelming amount of stories that we can tell. And I think if you are a company, besides a great product, you must tell stories. And this is what we are doing now better than ever. But these stories do not impact modern work. Good. So, because in those days, my family was in the crystal jewelry business. They were developing, they were producing headlights for cars, they were inventing the microfiber, they invented the TV screen and things like this. So they were very, very advanced in technology, in glass production, very different to what we're doing nowadays. And sadly, the link was lost because of the after effect of World War II. So I grew up as a young man like all others did, with a very ambitious father and mother, very business focused, and of course, at a very young age, surrounded by wine and those people who make wine. So my understanding for wine started since the day I was able to walk, not by tasting the wine, but by listening, by starting to understand, by serving wine at a very young age, and then being allowed to smell, getting educated by the winemakers. So I do believe I know a lot about wine. I do believe I will never be able to make wine because it's not in my DNA and I have other things to take care of.
Do you remember the first wine you drank? I mean, was there...
No.
Simple no.
No, but I can tell you it was for sure something great because my father, when guests came, he always opened, he went deep into the cellar, always opened very particular, very special vintages in wine. So you can rest assured that I grew up surrounded by some of the best fruit ever produced.
Well, can we be a little cheeky? Can you verbally take us into your cellar right now? What have you got in there that is waiting for, what's exciting you right now, that's evolving, aging, just... what's coming to your mind right now?
Well, right now, obviously, en primeur, having finished vintage 2025, and I'm very excited because it will be wow. It will be fantastic. It will be probably one of the best vintages ever released at best price. Good.
Okay.
This is what people need to understand. Yes, every vintage in Bordeaux in the last 100 years ending on a 5 were great, and this is just the confirmation. But because of what's going on in the world of wine, we will all have access at very preferable price. Good news for us. Otherwise, my cellar is deep. I've been building it. I've been investing in it for the last 20 years. You can imagine.
I can.
I bought en primeur. I bought at auctions. I got a lot of gifts from a lot of winemakers around the world. And I have this lucky situation. I can always go to my cellar and wow myself, surprise myself, because you also tend to forget what you put into your cellar at a certain size. But I could not point out any in particular. I'm a wine lover. I'm a wine collector. Wines from around the world.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. Okay, all right, give us something else. How many bottles do you think are actually in that cellar?
Well, I never counted it, but when I moved back from America in 2013, I moved back with at least 3,000 bottles. And if you imagine that I have been collecting since en primeur and so on and so on, so there is significant more than that in my cellar. But again, I never counted it. Maybe I should one day, but it's a very safe environment. It's my place when I need to run from my family, my kids screaming. So it's a very quiet place and I feel very good in my cellar.
And also, is there some bottles in there? I'm still nudging on, I'm still pushing. Are there some bottles in there that actually reflect the family journey? Maybe some bottles that your grandfather has left for you? Are there some very old vintages?
Yeah, very good question. So my grandfather actually never collected wine. Yeah. What he bought, he drank.
Good for him. Yes, good for him.
I inherited a bottle from 1756, which I'm not sure when to open it or if ever to open it, which is definitely something that reminds me of him, which he actually got gifted from my father at one point. But I got a lot of gifts from my dad. Besides his wine cellar, which is still bigger than my cellar, there is quite a value in wine and memories. But there are some wines that relate to vintages that are important to me, like the vintages of my children. I've bought a lot for them. I got my wedding wine from my grandfather, which he bought actually the year I was born. And during my wedding, I didn't dare to open it, so we still have yet to get to it. In my cellar, you will find the funeral wine of my father. Yes, imagine that, because there was a vintage that impressed him so much that he said, on my funeral, the generation after should drink this wine to never forget me. So my family, as you can imagine, is very much linked to the world of wine. And that's why we call ourselves the Wine Glass Company.
I love that. And that is why wine is such a beautiful, beautiful thing, because it is a time capsule. It is emotion. There's so much more than just flavors. Although,
absolutely,
you obviously help that. So thanks for that with your wine glasses. Let's bring it back to the wine glasses then, or more, perhaps the decanters. Where do they fit in? Once you've chosen the right glass for your grape, where do the decanters fit into that same philosophy?
So, first of all, decanting is nothing new, but people are doing it most probably for the wrong reasons. And these were one of the first decanters, or the first things I designed were decanters, because my knowledge for shaping wine glasses was not given when I started in 2004 designing for the family. And so the first designs I created were decanters for my purpose.
Okay.
So I think that there are three of more reasons why we should decant. Number one, the traditional reason for all the vintages to split the wine from the sediment. Good, understood. It's not very modern because most restaurants and people at home don't have access to these wines. So nowadays we use decanters to open them up, these wines, to aerate them, to naturally age them fast forward. And the third point is experience. Good. And you wouldn't believe it adds to the excitement.
Oh, yes, it does.
It's this whole procedure in a restaurant, at home. You pull the cork, you pre-taste the wine, you make my famous color check, you pour it into the decanter, and then you wiggle it a little bit and you let it sit. It's just, wine is more than just alcohol or a beverage that goes along with food. Wine is an experience. Good. It excites your senses, all of them. And so it's a mystical, exciting moment, which doesn't cost the world. You don't have to travel for it. Good, it comes to your house, imagine. So it should be celebrated like this, and decanter does the job.
And what is your favorite decanter? Because
it's like judging my kids. Good. I've designed at least 60 of them over the time. Some of them still in the market. Every year I develop new ones because I have such a passion for it. Some of them got discontinued, but they are in my museum. So it is, people don't invest anymore as much in flowers because they cost a lot of money. You have to take care of them. People tend to forget. So what to put on the table to decorate your dining table? Is it a flower vase without flowers, or is it a decanter, which you can also use in the morning for orange juice? You don't need to necessarily decant wine. It is a vessel and you should use it.
What is the one, though, that basically is a snake? I know you've done different ones, but the really twisty one, what's this one called?
Yeah. I was born in the year of the snake, Chinese star sign. So this kind of snake symbol, for whatever reason, excites me. And I also turned them into beautiful decanters. But I would say the must-have Riedel decanter is our Riedel Amadeo Decanter. It's this classic shape that a lot of companies tried to copy. It's patent. People can't copy it. So we were very lucky to understand the treasure that we hold. We named it after Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, Amadeo, because he was born in the same year as my company in 1756. So in his honor, we developed this Lyra lookalike decanter. And it is mind-blowing that, since 20 years it's on the market, and every year we sell more and more.
And it is incredible to use, but you do need skill, right? I remember how you gotta twist it and flip it to get. I mean, you gotta get your muscles working almost.
No.
No, I exaggerate.
No, but the most frequent asked question is how to wash them, of course.
Oh, God,
and
please.
I always say,
yes, this is actually valid. Why have I not even thought?
Yeah,
Tell
it's
me.
it's not rocket science. Good. Water and soap does the job. But what I highly suggest, two things. Don't wash your decanters after a lovely evening because you don't want to get injured for whatever situation you're in. What I suggest after using, in particular, red wine, rinse the decanter once and fill it up with warm water. Let it sit overnight and the next day take care of it by adding some soap, some water, rinse it, use the proper polishing towels to clean the decanter.
Yes, because that's the issue, isn't it, with red wine? When you're not cleaning it properly, you get the residue that just doesn't seem...
Staining.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Would you use the little balls, those little metal balls that you can, with some water and shake and scratch the bottom if you have got those red marks at the bottom of your decanter?
You can try it. It is recommended. But I would, to start with, avoid that because all you need is to soak them in water and you will never get the staining.
Look after it from the beginning, people. Okay, I will try and remember that myself. What about wine glasses? Would you do the same? Next, warm water, little bit of soap, and use a polishing cloth?
For sure. So most of the time after a lovely dinner at home, the dishwasher is full with pots and pans. Let the glasses sit on the sink, fill them up one more time with warm water and let them sit. Again, under a microscope, the surface of crystal glass looks like the pores of your skin. And this is where this residual likes to sit. And if you don't take care of it, it gets so much hooked into it that you have a tough time removing it. So all you need to do at night after usage, let them soak in water, and then the next day, a little bit of soap, warm water, hand wash, or put them in a dishwasher. They will do equally a good job.
Okay, there we go. Everybody, you've heard it here first. Now, I wonder what you're going to say, because you've had so many wine experiences. Just before we started recording, you were telling me about the 15 million countries you're visiting next week alone. I'm not asking you now to tell me your favorite wine region or your favorite wine grape. I'm asking you, is there a moment when something just opened your eyes in a wine cellar, in a wine region, in a vineyard? Is there a moment that sticks with you? Something that changed your course, changed your opinion?
Many of these moments, because I've traveled the world from South Africa, wine producing country, through Europe to North America. I have been to countries where you wouldn't believe that they produce wine. In Denmark, for example, in Sweden, it becomes more and more a trend. Never to forget Austria. I'm Austrian, and Austria produces some of the finest white and red wines, I believe, in the world. And if I look at a wine list, or I being invited to private homes and they feature some Austrian wines, I know that they have done their job. I know that they understand wine. And of course, it makes me very happy and very proud.
Well, I still didn't manage to get you out and get one of them. Okay, fine.
No, you won't.
He is a tough crowd, everyone. Okay.
I can only tell you what I miss.
What do you miss?
I miss a lot of wines from particular wine regions that I adore, which is Alsace. Very sad. To me, Alsace in the north of France produces fabulous wines, and very little is being talked about. Germany, fabulous. I think those Rieslings will have a comeback, low in alcohol, easy to match with food. So there are some regions, some countries where I miss them on the best wine lists in the world. There should be more focus.
Well, I agree with you, and I hope I've tasted some Spätburgunder, so Germany's Pinot Noir, recently.
Yes.
And every time I'm getting more and more surprised, impressed, the concentration, their own individuality. I'm like, is this the year? Is this the year for Spätburgunder?
Yeah.
Maybe.
And then, of course, I have to also face trends like orange wine, which I don't think is here to stay, even though it has a great history. But I think nobody misses them on the wine list. I apologize when saying that, but it's just my personal opinion. And the other one is non-alcohol wines, which I have suffered through tasting a lot from around the world. I have yet to find one that I would appreciate.
What has been the hardest maybe wine glass to shape? I know you did some tasting to get the English sparkling wine glass, which was very much appreciated.
Love English sparkling wine.
Thank
Boom. What a treasure.
Isn't it just? So you've been at, it's not just, again, here's your sparkling wine glass. You are really looking at different regions, their styles, and designing the glass. Has there been one that's been, it's actually, no, nothing's...
I tell you what is the most challenging.
Okay.
If you really dig deep, and you talk to the world of wine, which in my world are the winemakers, there is one glass that is not only grape-specific, but also region-specific. It's a fruit that we all know and we all appreciate, but because of locality, in particular, the minerality levels change, and that's Pinot Noir. So Riedel has, for Pinot Noir, multiple glasses. We called one the New World, one the Old World. But there's also a glass for Central Otago Pinot Noir. Good. Why? Because it is such a vulnerable fruit, amazing fruit, driven by minerality. And when we talk about Pinot Noir, people talk about acidity, people talk about... But very few geniuses in the world of wine really recognize the minerality of that fruit. And that's why even the Burgundians that moved to Oregon to make wines, like the Drouin family, said to us, we need a different Pinot Noir glass for Oregon Drouin versus Burgundy Drouin. And this is mind-blowing, and we can only attest to it and confirm that.
Interesting. Okay. Do you see, you're talking about these very specific glasses for the grape in one specific terroir. But what about like a range? Because you make ranges of wine glasses. How does somebody decide one range over another? Is there a good starting point? Is, if they've got all the money in the world, where would you direct them? Again, come on, you've got to give me some answer here.
I will give you many answers, but that's the good news about Riedel. We don't have one collection at one price, like some competitors do. It just proves that they never made glasses themselves. I'm the glass maker. I produce 60 million glasses a year in my own factories. And I do that because I want to offer every wine lover the chance to invest in my glasses. So it starts with different price points. From machine-made all the way to handmade. From colorless with colored fusion, like the Riedel Fatto Mano collection. So for every table, for every occasion, for every grape variety, and for every budget, I make glasses. And I think this is what people should really appreciate, because I open to them the world of glass wherever they want to take it.
Yeah. And what about the new? I've been tasting, as you know, some wines out of your Fatto glass range, which is the latest handmade range. So why this new range?
This is, thank you for asking, puts a big smile on my lips. I wish people could see me. This is my new benchmark. Good. I need to also set benchmarks, maybe not so much for the world of wine, but for my family. I need to prove myself to the mastermind, George Riedel, my dad. And I've done this a couple of times, but this is a glass collection, which I think is, in particular for modern wines, the new standard. And I impressed him. And as long as I can impress him, I know I will impress the rest.
I love that. Well, I'm very much enjoying drinking out of these glasses.
Cool. Thank you.
A little bit of fun. I mean, anyone who's not following you on Instagram, first of all, how you have the time, I don't know. But I very much like your Sunday Fun Day posts.
Yes.
They're rather brilliant, aren't they? Now, come on, you have to. It doesn't mean they're your favourites. What have been 3 really good wines you've had some fun with opening up on your Sunday Fun Days?
Well, the wines, of course, but it's also the fun around it.
Okay.
Good. So people need to understand it started to be a fun day because my children at the age of 8 and 10 are the ones filming it.
Are
Good.
they?
Yeah, and it's fun to do it with them. Good. This is what people need to understand. This is behind the scenes. Then, of course, we always, as a family, think what craziness can we take? Like taking it on a surfboard, jumping off a cliff, going fishing, doing this, going hunting, doing that. And so it's always, it's Sunday Wine Fun Day is a family occasion. And that's where the whole concept of mine was born. You cannot imagine how many people are sending me private videos where they try to duplicate it from all around the world. As I mentioned, I was just in Bordeaux. All the young Bordelais, the next generation, come to me telling me how much they appreciate it, and they tell me which one they preferred the most. I cannot tell you which one I prefer the most. I can tell you which ones were the hardest to produce, starting with on a surfboard with a tower of champagne glasses. It had to happen in the first go. I was risking my life, but it all worked out well.
Are you telling me that those wine glasses are not like all stuck together with glue? They're literally loose on the tray.
Let's change the subject.
Regardless.
It's all about me on the board, good?
Yeah,
because I've never done that before, and I was standing on it. I was, I had shaky knees, but I did it in the first go. That's what matters.
Honestly, it is very inspiring and very impressive and very, very fun to watch. So, you know.
Thank you, Janina. Appreciate it.
Any secrets are safe here. No one's listening. It's all good. It's just between us two, this conversation. Okay, I want to slowly sum up this episode. I mean, what's the oldest wine you've ever tasted? Can you remember the oldest vintage you've ever opened?
Of course I can. I mean, this immediately comes to my mind. I was invited numerous times to Chateau Latour, Grand Vin de Latour in Pauillac. And 2 times I was invited to dinners where I was surrounded by the who is who in the wine industry. And we were all asked to judge one of the many wines and to do blind tasting. And there was one in particular where everybody was off by more than 100 years because we opened 1865 and a few vintages around it. And I'm not talking about fortified wines. I'm talking about red wines. And it's quite interesting when Bordeaux reaches 100 years plus and they're in mint condition, which they can only have when they never left the winery. Then all of a sudden Bordeaux starts to taste like Burgundy. And I was not familiar with this.
Wow.
So this was a big surprise.
Well, you're going to have to design a new glass. What is the largest format bottle you've ever opened? Because sometimes you are carrying incredibly huge bottles.
18 liters? Yes, I think it was 18 liters. They go even bigger than this, but I opened a few of them. Imperial is my standard,
Yes.
6 liters. But it's not only fun to open them. The best is to share them. Good. And a lot of people question me, why so many big bottles? Well, first of all, it's difficult to get them.
Yeah.
Second is you need a lot of friends to share them with. And they all appreciate it. What must never happen is that these bottles cork, which sadly tends to happen. Rarely, but they do. So it's always a risk. So the whole thing is like
Will it, won't it?
a scene of a James Bond movie. You know, you show up with the big cannon, the way you need to operate, which means like taking the fuse out of a bomb and then see if you survive, meaning the wine is not corked, and then of course to share it in the grand style.
Oh,
I love it.
Oh, that is beautiful. Just make sure you give me a call next time you're opening up that 18-litre bottle.
Happening soon. Happening soon.
And what is the most, what question shall I finish with? The most obscure grape variety or wine that has genuinely impressed you?
Well, I'm Austrian and we drink a lot of Grüner Veltliner, and people must give it a try because in some cases it definitely beats Riesling. So Grüner Veltliner is the way to go.
Okay. And also, actually, I mean, I've got to ask you something a little bit silly. If you had a Mouton Rothschild, would you either drink that out of a children's sippy cup, or you have one of your sommelier collection Cabernet glasses and it's a sub £7 bottle of Cab? Which one, what are you going with?
Well, in neither way, I would refuse to drink it. Good? Because
Have your
wine,
morals.
life is too short to drink great wine out of bad glasses, vice versa. And believe it or not, fact is, for me, it's more important with whom I drink
I believe
than
that.
what I drink.
I
And this is so
believe that.
important for people to understand. Of course, there's a lot of people who drink brands just to impress. I drink wine because, well, it's more fun than drinking water, but I would never drink it alone. Never, ever.
Hear, hear. Thank you so much, Max, for just sharing a little bit about your own philosophy, your own thoughts, your own feelings. I think I managed to get a few little secrets out of you. Little bit.
Yes.
But, you know,
Next time, keep digging.
well,
Good?
you've got to keep the intrigue. And we shall part now because you're flying off around the world again. And may I drink a beautiful glass of wine with you soon out of one of your beautiful Riedel wine glasses.
Looking forward. Where are you based? Are you based in London?
I am London-based.
I will
Always
be
here.
in London, so everybody hears it. In November, I will have many Riedel wine glass experiences, including York. I will be in York for the first time. So whoever wants to join me, we will announce it on Riedel.com, my upcoming tastings. But if the people from London are listening, I will be back. Or as the Austrians say, I'll be back in London this November. Stay tuned.
So I hope the takeaway from this episode is that wine glassware doesn't need to feel complicated or intimidating, but it's all about experience. And once you start paying attention, you realize how much it can change the way a wine shows up in the glass. And if you have any thoughts or questions, you're going to find my email in the show notes along with links to Riedel wine glasses. Now, next week, we are heading to Romania to explore indigenous grape varieties with the winemakers behind Crămăli Răcaș, the largest exporters of Romanian wine. And I shall finish, as always, with a wine quote, and why not one from Max Riedel himself, who said, "For a nail, you need a hammer, and for wine, you need a Riedel glass." And for a podcast, we need reviews. So if you are enjoying this episode and the previous ones, do leave a review on Apple Podcasts or a rating on Spotify or wherever you are listening to it, and share it with another wine lover because it genuinely helps the show to grow. I hope this week brings you a few good bottles and even better moments around them. Until next week, wine friends, cheers to you.